Hey everyone, welcome to the Marketing Monopoly podcast. I'm very excited because we have one of our clients here, actually, Kayleb from Legacy Roofing, who has a lot of experience in the roofing space that we're excited to share today. Kayleb, thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to sharing some of my wisdom, if you will.
I love it. Well, for anyone who's listening in who might not know who you are yet, give us a quick intro, quick bio. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so again, my name's Kayleb Burrett, one of the co-founders of Legacy Roofing and Solar, where we are a women-owned, faith-based, and family-operated roofing company. Originated in a small town, Illinois, a town called Mattoon, Illinois, then expanded to Florida after Hurricane Irma. And now we have our office in Northeast Florida, which is in St. Augustine, Jacksonville, Florida, and then still have our location in Illinois.
Very cool. And thank you. I know you're joining us. You got the family's sick, but you still came, made sure to be here for the podcast. So we appreciate. We got to share the knowledge with each other in the industry and help others because, where you're at in your business, someone's either A, been there or looking to get there. So this really goes a long way. So we're going to touch base on a couple different topics today. Some of the things we spoke about that are really exciting, like just faith inside the work, which obviously everyone has to have purpose and core values. That's so important. So we'll touch base on that. And then we'll go into something really cool you shared with me that you've done, which I think will excite a lot of people, is leading a team of 5, 6 salespeople who ended up doing $150 million in sales and producing that. So I know people are going to be curious. But before I jump into that, I mean, we see right there on the logo, you have Thank God Daily, which I think is so important. But let's just talk about that for a moment and what that means to you guys in your business and how you've brought your faith into the workplace to create a good environment.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. There's a lot of controversy around that of bringing your faith or your beliefs into the workplace. And when we started in business, and a little background on that, I'm a big sports guy. So I looked at it as the Tim Tebow approach inside the roofing world, because where we built our foundation off of was I went to my first NAAA meeting when I was 7 years old with my dad. And fast forward, I was an addict myself for a long time, recovered, started a business, firmly believe in the second chances. And through that, we hold NA meetings in our office in Illinois. And in that addict life, if you will, I like to call it, that's when I was trying to live life by my way instead of living with a purpose. And so when we started and we designed the logo in 2016, that was like continuing to be at the forefront of making sure in everything we do is be grateful and just give praise where praise is needed. And as we all know, thanking God daily is in its simplest form, but that really flows into our core values of just, helping one person a day. I've proudly keep it on all of our shirts, cars, wraps, yard signs, and yeah, it's been a game changer for us. It really keeps us centered in our mission and what we're wanting to do. Does not mean that we're perfect or that we don't make mistakes, but you know, through Christ all things are possible, and it's been a guiding light for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say everyone has that moral compass with that like kind of North Star they aim for. Sometimes people get on off track on their journey, but what's important is we bring it back. And I do think growing up, like for me, for example, it was like you don't talk about a couple things in business, and it was like religion, politics, right? Like the typical things you don't talk about. And so I think that's changing now, though, and I think people are more open to it, especially if it's positive, right? Because we all like thank God daily. Anyone can relate to that in terms of people on your team and customers, right? We're all human. We all each day is a blessing and we can relate to something just like taking that moment to be thankful for being here and what we have. And I feel like that goes a lot into building the culture you did and are building. And I have a question because I didn't know this, about your story, with just like the AA meetings and different things there, which is so important. And I'm gonna pass it to you, but it resonates with me because I truly believe business saved my life. And I think there's other people who could relate to that. And if you're so busy working on something positive, you don't really have time to be doing all the nonsense. So how have you like impacted that community? And like, do you recruit people who maybe are recovering to help give them a good foot forward? Or how does that look for you?
Yeah, that's been actually how it all started. It was pretty organic. Coming out of that lifestyle, you can't just flip a switch and that part of your life is gone. You can move environments, but the people are still there. And so There were some people that, wanted to change their life as well, and it started through that, but it was actually my godfather, who I call my godfather, Greg Patterson. He brought a gentleman by who I actually went to high school with and dropped him on, I always say, dropped him on my doorstep of our office. He 30 days into sobriety, and he said, "Hey, the courts want him to have a W-2 employment. I'm not going to do that, so he's going to work with you." Fast forward, going on 7 years later now, that gentleman, Tyler, is my right-hand man, top producer inside our company. And I've watched, I always joke, he started door knocking and prospecting in a 1994 Buick LeSabre, like the big body boat cars. And it's a testament to his faith and again, our core values, because when you introduce somebody to the insurance restoration, if you will, especially back in 2017, it sounds way too good to be true. You know, going by, knocking on a door, seeing a missing shingle, and somebody's going to come in and pay for the roof, and then I'm going to get paid a commission. To an addict or in active recovery, that doesn't make sense. So you literally have to have some blind faith there. And to this day, I tell that story because without that blind faith, it is hard to have success in this industry. And that platform was exposed at that point, and that's really when we started to work hand in hand with our local, what they call drug court community. So as people get, I call them petty drug charges, if you will, through our local county, they have an opportunity to go through a very strict and stringent program called a drug court where it's 2 to 3 drug tests a week randomly. I had to be willing to stop work on job sites to get them to their drug test. But if they did that through the end of the program, that felony came off their record. And so we still work that program. And at this time, what is it? 1, 2, 3. We have 3 employees that have been with us that we got through the drug court program that were one started as he was a Papa John's delivering pizza, and fast forward now he's running production for us in multiple states, all remotely out of one location in Illinois. And just how I had the privilege to be able to see lives go from poverty, if you will, or no hope to, actively being, some of the best people I know, to the best dads I know, to now they're pouring into the next group of guys and or girls, if you will.
It's amazing what people can do with the right person helping them get there and guiding them to that North Star, we'll call it, and just changing the environment sometimes. And you've really been able, I mean, even the three people you have, you've impacted their lives, which is, I think, what we all strive for as leaders or owners, business owners, or even managers. And so that's just amazing to hear in a story that I think a lot of us just, it's nice to have people like you helping others and giving back to the community and what matters to them, right? Everyone's different. For you, that's personal, so it matters, right? And
Yeah.
to someone else, it may be look a little different, but I think this is for anyone listening, this is just a subtle reminder. Remember why you got into business and the purpose behind it. And was it to help others? And have you been doing that? It's not all just about money. There is some point, and anyone who doesn't have money right now, you're trying to build that business, trust me, I think you'll agree, Caleb, when you start to get money, it's not about the money like you thought. It really
Mhm.
becomes about purpose and how you help others.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And what I found is it's not about the money, it's about the intent and behind of how you get the money. And if you go out with the intent to truly help people, whether that's insurance or retail or whatever it is, as long as your intent and your heart's right, the money takes care of itself tenfold. I've tested that personally. I've seen it. I've seen guys that are rock stars in this industry that, go from helping people to being money driven, and they go from, rock star years to average Joes. I fell guilty to it time, over the course of 8 years. I think we all have. It's the only industry I know that can be so prosperous at times and also feel as if it is the rat race, if you will, at all times. But I love it. I love it. I wouldn't do anything else now. It's been a huge blessing for my family and I.
So speaking of developing and helping others, you've kind of shared with me one of your highlights, one of your big plays there with developing and training a team of 5 to 6 people, which resulted in $150 million. And you led that team to those results. And that isn't just done on accident, right? That has to be done through some pretty good leadership. Tell us, like, walk us through, what did that look like? What were some of the strategies there to get a team performing at such a high value?
So nothing, everybody, even myself included, we're all looking for that magic sauce. And there isn't one yet, or I haven't found it. It really, I was just talking about this yesterday. It really just comes down to having a leader lead from the front. And again, I'll use a lot of sports analogies. It's you hear the names Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, all they were masters of the basics. And at that point, I had to be a master of the basics. I was very fortunate to have an opportunity after Hurricane Irma to get paired up with a really good company at that time. And I didn't do anything special other than friends that I knew, I shared the opportunity with. They had the courage to make the drive down. All that being said, it was their blind faith, my blind faith, and just getting up every day, knocking doors, putting in the work, following up, and continuing that, knowing that at some point it was going to pay off. But all we could focus on at this point was doing the work. And at that time, I didn't have an option because my back was against the wall. It was my just finished my first year in business, racked up a bunch of supplier debt, mismanaged funds, and I'll probably speak for a lot of entrepreneurs. That's tends to be when most entrepreneurs perform the best, if you will. Pressure makes a pressure makes the diamond, and that's the type of pressure I was under. And there was an opportunity, and I wasn't going to screw that up. And I kept it really basic of just putting in the work. All those guys that were part of that team, they had the blind faith and put in the work, and we fed off each other through the good, the bad, the ugly. But it was really neat to see, and that's ultimately what gave me the confidence and reassurance. Because like I said, that was just at the in the winter of finishing my first year in business, and it really opened my eyes to the potential inside this industry. And now fast forward, I live in Florida full time, still have our office there. A little backstory on that team that I put together. Everybody on that team has successfully started their own roofing company, whether it's from Alabama to Illinois. A couple are actually right in my backyard in our Illinois office, and we actually collaborate together consistently, working together to try to raise that rising tide. I don't even look at them as competitors, but that all started because the faith that they had in taking a chance and just going purely off what I said. I think this is a good opportunity. Supposedly tile roofs pay very well. There's a lot of damage. Come hang out with me and let's go work. And they did.
So it sounds like a lot of it was right place, right time, but you had to keep them bought in, right, on the vision and under because they were taking that blind faith. So how did you keep that team? And it sounds like a lot of them, that experience led them to be successful in their own ventures after having that experience. What do you think, like, how did you keep them really bought into the vision and accountable for what you needed them to do to perform? So you guys all hit the goal together.
Leading from the front. So taking them out one by one or in a group. And one of the gentlemen I recruited, still a good friend, Jeremy Janes, him and I would go out together and door knock. And he would just I think that, when you're trying to train somebody to do something, when you show them you're willing to do what you're asking them to do, it goes a long way. That's not to take away from any, education, formal training, because both are needed. But I think just leading from the front, the camaraderie, we all lived in the same house together. There's a lot of times we were splitting deals, working through each other, holding each other accountable with the same end goal in mind. And, all that to be said, there was still issues, but, issues between us internally. I mean, you live with somebody long enough, you get sick of them eventually. I don't want to paint this perfect, pretty picture, but the end result was still a very pretty picture, if you will. But there was a lot of trials, tribulations. Every day wasn't great, but no matter what the day was, the work ethic and the faith is what got us to that level to set everybody up for success long term.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like how you're not trying to like glamorize it, right? Like a lot of people hear the number 150 million and like they're like, oh yeah, like they just fixate on that. But you're like, hey, listen, yes, that's what happened. It was a result of faith, consistency, and that blind faith, right? Or believing in it. And so you're actually saying, listen, it wasn't as pretty as it sounds. Like, yes, the
No.
result was pretty, but it was actually tough days. And I think anyone who's doing anything in business, in marketing, in sales, right, a business owner, you need to hear that because no matter even the people I know who are the most successful, they're never as organized, as structured as you think, and yet they're
Nope.
producing big numbers. So that kind of ties me into like sales and marketing. I think they go hand in hand. You have a lot of experience in sales. Tell me about like the marketing end. I mean, you have this message of thank God daily. How do you get that out to people?
Living it out. That's, it's not, that's our, that's what I try to teach. I don't try, I do myself. I think actions speak louder than words. It's on all of our material, from shirts, vehicle wraps, yard signs, folders, door hangers. But more importantly, it's not just words on paper. It's, how we operate when nobody's around. It's how the community sees our team inside the gas station when they're paying for something. Are they respectful? Are they cussing up a storm when, they're walking into the gas station to, get Gatorade, whatever it is. That's, if there's something that sets us apart, that's what it is. It's the marketing is, in my opinion, a big factor on that is how your team operates behind the scenes. Because it's easy to do good and look good on camera, especially for social media, but it's the when you're not wearing the shirt, when you're not wearing the hat, and you're just at the gymnastics meet. Are you yelling at the coach? Are you yelling at the ref? And that's where I think the difference is. That's where I think the marketing takes care of itself. You still have to have a presence, but those actions and the team we have stayed smaller in size in comparison to some of our competition around us, but I like to say we're small but mighty. We can run with the best of them, but I don't need a bunch of just bodies, if you will, on our team just to. I did at one point because it feels real good for the ego. I've been down that road, but at my age, at 35 now and 5 kids in and coming in on 10 years in the industry, it's purely for ego. I think we've all fallen into that trap where we just think scale, scale, scale. And I'll touch on that 150 million revenue. It's just that it's revenue. That's not profit. So we all get fixated on this like 100 million, whatever. I would argue that some people make more money doing 5 million a year than some of these big companies. So it's not what you sell, it's, how much profit you actually keep and then how intelligent you are with that profit if you're going to have success. Because I've fallen into every one of those traps where if you don't know how to hold on to the money or let your money make money for you, it's a rat race and you will become exhausted. And how I always check myself is if I'm becoming exhausted, I'm money focused. If I'm not exhausted, it's because I'm focusing on the right things. And I would love to tell you I've been perfect over 8 years, but I haven't. We still have our issues and trials, if you will. And for any business owners out there, you're not alone. I think I've worked for big $100 million companies. I collaborate with, 20, $30 million companies. I have a personal friend who's sold his company to private equity for 70 million. We all have the same issues. It's just at a different level. But, we're all missing pipe boots on the builds and, this supplier doesn't get paid this month and that like they're all the same issues. Some are better at handling certain aspects of it at a time, but we all go through those. And I've just learned not to compare myself to where everybody's else is at because we're all on different timelines.
100%. I think it's focusing on what you have in front of you, and you hit on so many great points there. I think one thing that I do say is everyone's different. A lot of first time business owners, you don't know it because you don't know till you do it. You think you have this goal and you realize maybe that wasn't what I actually wanted. And yes, you have this $100 million company, but you're so stressed. Is it even worth it? Right. So there's a right way to do things. I'll tell you this much. Building a small business is hard and building a big business is hard. They're both hard. Like you said, the $70 million company, the $3 million company, the it's there's gonna be some of those same issues. It just amplified. And you really have to choose what feels right to you. I've had owners talk to us, like when we do marketing for a lot of companies, not everybody's marketing strategy is to get to 100 million or 10 million or whatever it may be. Some people are like, hey, I just want to stay consistent with where I'm at, build a brand that reaches the people in my community, makes an impact, and keep my profits high and be able to take my Fridays off, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's goals are different. So I think deciding any tips on how to decide what aligns with someone, like how what they should go through maybe mentally, if they, especially if they're a first time owner, on how to get clear on what they want. for their
Yeah,
business.
I would say the most important thing, especially for anybody that's married, is having an honest conversation with your spouse. Because when I first started, we sat down, and at the time we sat down, we didn't have any kids. My goal was 10 years, in 10 years, 10 offices in 10 states, doing $100 million. Well, right after that happened, fast forward, we had our first son and we didn't stop having kids. It's okay to change what you initially wanted. That was something I really struggled with out of the gate. We had a kid, and in my mind, I'm like, well, I committed to this, so we have to stay this. No, you don't. You started the business. Your vision can change when you want to. And that is, I think, a pride thing, maybe an ego for most males as we tell, because I had a custom sign made. I hung it on my wall, 10 offices, 10 states, $100 million, and I put a date on there. So realizing and coming to realization that I don't want 10 offices in 10 states. Do I want to be licensed in a lot of states? Yes. But the time that I was having to be away from my family in order to do that just at two offices, I knew real quick that goal needed to change. And I also learned real quick that revenue doesn't equal profit. So we can focus on this big number because it sounds sexy, but you're doing a disservice to your community and to your employees and everybody that relies on you and your suppliers if you're not focused on profit. And so that's my big advice there would be it's okay for things to change. Life changes. The only thing consistent in this life is taxes and it changing. And being able to navigate that change, I think, is very, very important. And don't go try to get advice, go try to get counsel. That's what my mentor told me. And I think that's probably the best advice I heard. If you go, when I have historically looked for advice, you're really looking for somebody, what I call, pardon my language, co-signing your BS. If you're going to get counsel, you're talking to somebody that has had uber success in this, whatever you're doing, whether it be roofing, and the counsel they're giving you is they've lived it, done it, and it's tried and true, if you will. As entrepreneurs, we think that we have to reinvent the wheel, and we just don't. A lot of times the blueprint is already laid out if you just had the courage, like we do, to knock on doors to go ask for help. And that's where I think I've had the most growth is collaborating with other owners and just start simple. Hey, we all pay for general liability, we all pay for work comp. What do you pay? What do you pay? Let's compare. Oh, this agent's going to give it to us cheaper. I did this with another local competitor. We saved ourselves $30,000 in 1 year just by sitting down and having lunch and like, here's my limits. Here's what I paid. Here's what you paid. Well, why are you cheaper? And the collaboration is, I think, is the most important part. And you mix that with getting good counsel. And don't be afraid to get counsel from your competitor that's doing better than you. Not all of them will be willing to help or share, but the good ones will. And I'm telling you right now that when you can collaborate, you will only increase your business and theirs.
Yeah, it's not telling you what you want to hear, it's telling you what you don't want to hear that's going to create growth for somebody. So
Yep.
you're doing them a disservice. And I think that was really, I've never heard anyone say that before about getting counsel, not advice, because you don't need people just co-signing you. Like your family might be your biggest fans and that's great and they're all amazing, but you need someone to keep it real. And that's
Yeah.
definitely something I do with all of, my colleagues, my friends, and my clients. I almost am too straightforward. It might be my family's New York side in me, but I give it to you straight, and that's what I
Yep.
believe in, and that's what got me here is by being that honest person that will tell you what it is even if you don't want to hear it. The delivery is all you got to work on. Just make sure how you deliver it. But once you get the
That's
delivery
it.
down, it's beneficial. And I just want to thank you for sharing everything you have so far. There's so many different golden nuggets in everything you said that I think people can relate to. Not even usually we talk a little bit more on marketing, but this is important for people to hear because we get so stuck in the marketing rat race. We have to take a step back and really focus on some of these things. And you've taken a lot of risk, blind faith, you said, and just kind of following your gut. And in Monopoly, which is my favorite game, hence the title of the podcast. I don't know if you remember, but there's the chance card.
Mhm.
And so at this part, I like to kind of ask you, I'm giving you imaginary take the chance card. Tell me about a risk you took and that you may have took in your personal career, but did it pay off? Didn't it? Like tell us about that risk you took to get to where you're at.
Oh man, so two. two instances come to light. One being after, so right, taking the chance to go to work for a company after Hurricane Irma hit that I never met. I never worked in Florida, never sold a tile roof, was only allowed to sell tile roofs. So taking that chance and going down there and purely blind faith and making it happen. And at that point, fast forward the money that we were making from there, I took a chance on a property to buy in our hometown that my wife wanted us to buy, and that has paid dividends. I did not want to buy it, but I also knew that I didn't want to hold on to the money I was making or that I made because I'd spent it on silly stuff. And fast forward, that is our biggest cash producer in our rental property portfolio. And then COVID, I had to bet on this platform and bet on myself. I had to double down. So everybody is aware COVID money was coming out of everywhere. It was easy to make money in that time. Then there was 1 year right after COVID where it like came to a screaming halt. I had to take a $1 million gamble through an EIDL loan to keep our business going. I have not shared that with a lot of people, but it was at that time my faith, it was at a point where things were tight. If we didn't get that cash injection, I don't know if we would be here. I prayed about it and I made it very clear, if this is what I'm supposed to do, give me clear direction. And it was confirmed, and that was the gamble that we did, I don't know, 3, 4 years ago now. And it paid off, paid dividends. So if you do the right thing, the chance is worth it. I'll take that chance card every single time.
Yeah, take the chance. That's the only way you can win big. And something you touched on really quickly before we wrap up here is real estate. This whole podcast is named Monopoly. I love two things I love the most are marketing and real estate. Just tell me really quickly, because it does sound like you have a rental portfolio. Like, can you touch on that or share any advice to someone who is a business owner? Maybe they own a roofing company or another industry, and they want to allocate some of their funds into an investment they know that could pay off long term. Any advice for that?
Yeah, start small. So what I did was when I would start to make money and get commissions, I just started buying. I had a mentor of mine just say, don't go try to buy the apartment complex first. Buy a piece, just buy an empty lot. And that's what I did. I bought an empty lot. I still have it to this day. Then we went and bought a building, a commercial building to put multifamily units in. And if don't through real estate is great. Where I see a lot of entrepreneurs, and I give a shout out to one of my best friends. His name's Jeff Barber. He was he was somebody that always consistently reminded me is don't over leverage yourself. If you're going to buy a property, finish it, get it rented before you're trying to buy your next property. Most of us in this industry have the tendency just to go, go, go. We think we can outsell our way out of everything. And the equity position is always nice, but not being over leveraged is key. And just it's okay to slowly build your empire. And that's, I think having a good spouse is key to that because you can't do it all by yourself. So get a good spouse, don't over leverage yourself, and don't try to get too fancy with it. Have a vision of what you want. We tend to just buy and hold. I know a lot of guys that are flippers that will buy and then just renovate and flip. That's not us. So kind of have a strategy going into it, I think is very important because if not, you'll end up just flipping and flopping and changing consistently. So when we buy, we hold for the long term and it's paid dividends.
Yeah, I love that. I think that was great advice, great tips, and I couldn't agree more. It takes a team, not only in what you do in business, but actually at home, right? So having that partner that can be that person and you're on the same page. I mean, I've seen the difference in from terrible relationships to good ones, right? How much it impacts your life and everything you do. And I think for real estate, I couldn't agree more. So anyone who's listening who wants to get involved in real estate, you heard those 3 tips right there from Kayleb. And the other thing I'd say is think of it as a long-term strategy because what's your actual goal? Flipping might be great for somebody who is looking to run that as their business, but you're really like the goal I would imagine for most people who already own a business is not to have another business of having to deal with flips and construction and scheduling. It's more so to have something long term you can hold that will pay dividends forever for you, your family, your kids, their kids, and so on. And that's the best part about real estate and building the business, and obviously monopolizing, what you do in your market, and just making sure it lasts for legacies. So thank you so much, Caleb. I really appreciate your time and everything you had to share.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to seeing you in all your next trainings with you and Elizabeth. And I'm gonna give a special prayer for her. Her baby's due any day now, right?
Correct. Yeah, any day.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Caleb.